festival of the dedication took place in Jerusalem. It was winter, and Jesus was walking in the temple in the portico of Solomon. So the Jews gathered around him and said to him, "How long will you keep us in suspense? If you are the Messiah, tell us plainly." Jesus answered, "I have told you, and you do not believe. The works that I do in my Father's name testify to me, but you do not believe, because you do not belong to my sheep. My sheep hear my voice. I know them, and they follow me. I give them eternal life, and they will never perish. No one will snatch them out of my hand. What my Father has given me is greater than all else, and no one can snatch it out of the Father's hand. The Father and I are one." The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, O Christ.
You may be seated. When Pastor West asked me to preach this Sunday, while he is at the Synod Assembly in Boise, I reminded him that I have told him in the past that I have only one sermon in me a year. But since all the pastors are at the assembly, he was desperate. So here I am. But I'm going to borrow some words from him and from Peter Marty for this sermon. Today is traditionally known as Good Shepherd Sunday. The second lesson and the gospel talk about lambs and shepherds. I think it is interesting that in Revelation it says, "For the Lamb at the center of the throne will be their shepherd." Jesus was both the Lamb, the obedient Son of God sacrificed for us, and he is also our shepherd, someone we can look up to and try to follow. Pastor West told me a little about sheep and their behavior. His dad had sheep, and he said contrary to our ideas about them being dumb, they really aren't. Methods used for herding cows, shouting at them from the rear or cracking whips at them, don't work well for sheep. They will run around behind you because they want to be led. They won't go anywhere that someone else does not go first, namely their shepherd, who goes ahead of them to show them that everything is okay. Sheep need a shepherd. It doesn't mean they are dumb. They're smart enough to know they can't go it alone. They need someone to lead and guide them. Are we that smart? In the gospel, Jesus said, "My sheep hear my voice. I know them, and they follow me. I give them eternal life, and they will never perish." Wow. Do we always hear the voice of Jesus and follow him? Do we ever listen for that still small voice that can help guide us and give us peace and eternal life? In talking to Dave Schneider about today's service, he told me about some of his experiences with sheep. He has done research on sheep, and he said they always herd them from the back, probably yelling at them and shooing them along. And sheepdogs race into the flock from the rear and snap at the sheep. I think they snap at them. These methods work by instilling fear in the sheep. They are probably effective methods, but not the way Jesus chooses to lead us. This brings me to the main point I want to talk about today: love versus fear. I don't often read the Lutheran, but maybe because it changed its name to Living Lutheran, it caught my attention this month. There is a great article by Peter Marty in the front called Fear. He talks about the power of fear in our lives and in our society. It causes us to treat those unknown to us or unlike us as a threat instead of an ally. Politicians have long discovered that using fear is a very powerful tool for getting us to sign up for all kinds of things that we might not agree with, like wiretapping phones or rejecting innocent refugees fleeing terrible war-torn countries like Syria, Iraq, and Afghanistan. Peter Marty quotes 1 John, "Perfect love casts out fear. There is no fear in love." The opposite of love is not hatred or even dislike. We don't even know enough about people of other faiths or countries to dislike them. But the opposite is rather fear. The more fear we possess, the less love we have. And the more love we have, the less fear we retain. Jesus asked his disciples to take up their cross if they wished to follow him. Their biggest fear, and ours, was death. and in their time there was the terrible form of death on the cross. He instructed them to pick up that fear, get a grip on it, face it down. If you don't confront your worst fears, you will lose your life and succumb to living completely scared. What kind of life is that? Not the kind that Jesus wants for us. He devoted nearly every waking moment, Pastor Marty says, to helping us rid our lives of fear. He goes before us like a good shepherd, showing us that everything will be okay because God is with us at all times. The gift of faith turns out to be nothing less than the courage to live and act in spite of our fears. I want to tell a little story about the first Sunday Michael was our choir director. Before the service, while we were gathered downstairs, he told us, "I believe that the most fundamental need we all have as human beings is to feel loved and accepted just as we are. I think church can be a place where people can feel that. And our job as a choir is to help create that atmosphere of love and acceptance." I burst into tears because I was so glad to hear him say that we are to help people feel loved. Our music is not about being a performance, and although it is also an offering of worship to God, it is fundamentally about love. Thank you, Michael, for that inspiration. Another story about love. For the first 45 years of my life, I could believe that God loved other people, but not me. I know, hard to believe since I'm so lovable now. Just kidding. I wasn't good enough, not lovable enough. I grew up in a faith tradition that led me to believe that you had to earn God's love by being good. I despaired, because even though I was a good kid, I never felt like it would be enough. I dragged that view along with me into adulthood, but then I started coming to Trinity and started hearing a different message, one of grace and unconditional love. It still took many years for me to understand that we have been given such a great gift by God, the gift of a wonderful shepherd in Jesus, who leads us not by yelling at us from behind and cracking whips, but by knowing us and loving us unconditionally. It is a free, unmerited, unearned gift, grace, but we do have to reach out and accept it. When I finally did accept it, that free gift of unconditional love for me, it has changed my life forever. I always laugh when I realize that God knows me so well and He loves me anyway. Hallelujah. It has made me a fool for God. Or maybe I'm just a fool. I have to tell you a story on myself. Our new president, I found out our new president has a corgi. Well, I have a corgi, so I immediately wrote him an email. I have a corgi! I have a corgi named Mary Lauver. We should get together and have a play date with our corgis. Well, I didn't hear from him for a few days. No big surprise. He's a smart man. He forwarded the email to his wife, who then wrote to me and said, "Oh, I'm in charge of Cayenne's social schedule, so please, yes, email me in mid-June when we move to town and we'll get together and have a corgi play date." I doubt the president will be there. I hope he's doing more important things, but nonetheless, it's just a fun thing. I'm not sure we as Lutheran Christians understand what a beautiful and life-changing message we have to tell others. In talking to another member of Trinity, she said she was raised a Baptist and is so much happier as a Lutheran. Me too. We need to share that joy with others. Be bold. Invite someone to church, and maybe more than just once every 20 years, which is the average number of times a Lutheran invites someone to church. Like our hymn of the day says, "Shepherd me, O God, beyond my wants, beyond my fears, from death into life." We can live a life of abundance, both now and for eternity. We no longer need to be held captive by our wants and our fears, and can live lives full of joy and love, like our shepherd Jesus. Amen. Amen. Please stand for the hymn of the day, Shepherd Me, O God, hymn number 780.